Good evening and welcome to the big story here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. I'm Zainab Balogun-Olowu. Today on the big story, we'll be taking a look at that Council of State meeting that's happening and what has resulted from there. So the National Council of State has approved the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The Special Assistant to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, in a statement on his X handle, said that President Bola Tinubu presented Amupitan as the nominee to fill the vacant position following Professor Mahmoud Yakubu's exit, having served from 2015 till October 2025, that's 10 years. Mr. Bayo Ononuga said the council members unanimously supported the nomination, with Kogi State Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo describing Amupitan as a man of integrity. The president is now expected to forward his name to the Senate for screening in line with constitutional provisions. If appointed, Professor Amupitan will become Nigeria's 15th INEC chairman. Professor Amupitan, who is a professor of law, currently serves as the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration at the University of Jos. He's also the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of Joseph Ayo Babalola University in Osun State. But as he prepares to take the reins of Nigeria's election management body, attention is turning to the expectations before him, the challenges ahead, and what his appointment means for Nigeria's electoral future. Joining me to discuss this, I have two guests. I have public affairs analyst who is also has observed the election in Nigeria for many years. We have Mr. Chike Chude. Good evening, Mr. Chude. It's great to have you on the program.
Yeah, good evening, Zainab. It's good to be here with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We also have an executive director, Conscience for Human Rights and Conflicts Resolution, CHRCR, Lokoja Kogi. We have Mr. Idris Miliki. Good evening, Mr. Miliki. It's great to have you on the program.
Yeah, it's great talk. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let me begin with you, Mr. Miliki, because you have known the Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, who has now been nominated as the chairman of INEC. I mean, if you could describe him, how would you describe him? What kind of person is he? And what's your reaction to his nomination as INEC chair?
Thank you so much. Well, I think first and foremost is to congratulate Professor Amupitan for this level of acceptance, and to the president of the country and the state council for taking him and considering him and the trust. I have known him for up to not less than 40 years. We grew up together in the same community. I know his father and his mother, so I can speak little about him. Although having proceeded to the academia, we've separated for several years. But looking at his family background, he said they are from a family which are highly educated. His father was a magistrate, and then the mother was also a mistress, a school principal. So he has been in the education sector all his life. And having moved to the university, and having been a professor of law, and then SAN, he inherited the reputation of his family that we know, with a lot of integrity, principle, and brilliance. So this is what I can say I know about him right from childhood. So he's somebody that has not been involved in any controversy, whether at community level, at state level, and at national level. And I believe the fact that it is given the necessary opportunity, and then with the support from Nigerians, he should be able to perform as a legal luminaries, and somebody that we can also call a digital professor. We have a lot of analog professors in Nigeria, but by virtue of his age, which is little less than 60, I think somebody who have gone several, he has written several books. Although politics or political issues is different from law. But with the legal background that he has been teaching law all his life, I think he should be able to excel. And I think Nigeria need to give him the necessary opportunity and chance. And I think to me, why we wait or await the Senate confirmation based on the provisions of the law, I believe Professor Amupitan will excel and will do well.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Mr. Miliki. Let me take you to Mr. Chike Chude. Your initial response to, the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan as INEC chair, because, Daily Trust had talked about a source in the presidency giving three names, that there were three names, and Professor George Amupitan was one of them. Professor Lai Olorede, who is a graduate of sociology from the University of Lagos, and he also studied law, was, another nominee. And there was also Justice Abdullahi Mohammed Liman, who is a retired justice of the Court of Appeal. So these were the three names that was said, that was on the list for the president. But now we've seen that Professor Joash is that was nominated and has been approved by the National Council of States. Your initial reaction to that?
So is that for me?
Yes, Mr. Chude.
Yeah, well, it was not. It was an open secret. It was. It was already speculated that there are three people on the nomination list, but Phyllis was that he was the most favored of the three candidates, and he has taken it unanimous approval by the Council of State, and so that's a good one. What is my reaction? My reaction is there should be that of every other Nigerian, who wants the country to progress. Elections are very important and critical for national growth, renewal and development, and so Nigerians have not, of course, we are looking at the credentials of the man. He's a professor. But if you look at the past, we've always had the professors in the past. We've had the Professor Morris Iwu, we had the Professor Atahiru Jega, you had and then we have him. And so in terms of education, in terms of, he has a sterling quality. But I think that one of the things that one should be looking at is the kind of principle he has, what kind of a person, is he, his kind of character. Obviously, they have done some vetting, about him, and came to the conclusion that he's the most suited. He has been he's never been in the public limelight. So this position is going to bring him to that, and where he will be subject to all manners of things. So he has to be the one to prove himself. He has to tell himself to Nigerians that he has what it takes, and that he has sufficient level of integrity to be able to do this work, because this is one of the most difficult jobs, and perhaps the thankless job in the country. That has been thrust upon him. Whether he has the backbone to be able to withstand the pressure that will come from him, that will come upon him. Not just pressure from Nigerians who are expecting so much after some levels of disappointment in the past, but from the political class that have now, appointed him as the INEC, the chairman of INEC. Obviously, there will be expectations from the political class. So he must be able to have the ability to weather the storm and to be able to say no when he should. That is very critical for his success as the chairman of INEC. Okay. But it's not going to be an easy job.
Okay, and we'll come to that, what should be the priorities for him, if eventually he is confirmed, right, and what key reforms. But let me take you back to Mr. Miliki on this now, because the president said he nominated him based on his political stance, his integrity and impeccable record of service. Right, and sometimes we've seen resident electoral commissioners, you see parties then come out, or individuals say, they actually have affiliation with this party or the other. In your time of knowing him, was he did he have maybe how do I put it now? Was there any party that he favored, or that was he into politics or anything? Could you speak on that? Is he really a political? Mr. Miliki. Mr. Miliki, can you hear me?
Yes, Miliki, I'm on the line.
All right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So I said in your...
Okay, I said...
Okay.
Yeah, I said, even looking at it from the family background, the entire family, as I know, have never been involved in partisan issues. And so, Professor Amupitan cannot be exception when it comes to issue of politics and political affiliation or partisan related. So as far as I know him from the day one, as far as primary school, I have never known him to be affiliated and today. Although we have not been together for quite some time, but definitely by virtue of what we do, we must read or know what other people do. We are from the same local government, we are from the same senatorial district, and we grew up at a local from the environment. That's why you even have a better opportunity for, because both the father and the mother were educated. So it's not partition, I can say that clearly. It's not partition, and it's a man of integrity, a highly brilliant person right from primary school actually today. My own opinions about the issue is the fact that, honestly, like the other colleague said, the fact that election is a ball game and you are dealing with all shades of people. But I think what Nigeria need to do, and if I'm to advise him, because I don't know how long we are going to be on this program, is to first of all study all the electoral committee report. I was a delegate to the National Political Reform Conference in 2005, the Obasanjo, which is 20 years ago. And I'm in my office now looking at those reports here. And there have been several ones. And luckily for us again, even policy and legal advisors have just launched a book, a report that also collated all committees on elections and observers report in and out of Nigeria. Just last week, Monday, supported by MacArthur Foundation. I think what you need to do is to study all those reports. What have been the issues outstanding? What are the expectations of Nigerians? It's now to serve Nigeria. It's like a well that everybody will have to drink from. And so if the expectation is high, he has the academic qualifications, he has the integrity to perform. But he needed the support from the government of the day. He needed the support of Nigerians who can give genuine opinion, genuine advice to him for him to be able to excel. Right. So Professor Amupitan is not a partisan, as I can say that. Okay. I am not partisan myself. So definitely I know he's not affiliated to any political party.
All right, I'll come back to you. I mean, you talked about some of the things he has done, writing a book. He's a professor of law. He also is in the academic. So what qualities do you think or experiences do you think he can bring to the role? But let me quickly take you back to Mr. Achidi on this now. Mr. Chudi on this. There's a timeline, right? Because the 2027 elections is in less than 2 years. Right. And so what do you think the timeline should be appointing, the Senate screening, and there should be that appointment to enable him settle into, this role, which is one of the reasons that, Professor Mahmoud Yakub said, he was exiting, to give that time. So what do you think the timeline should be?
The timeline for what? I didn't really get you.
His appointment. Right. He has been nominated. He still has to go, through screening from the Senate. But I'm saying, what do you think the timeline should be, knowing that we have less than 2 years to the elections?
No, I'm not sure there will be. I'm sure that there is a sense, of the urgency that is needed, given in the minds of the senators who are meant to confirm him according to constitutional provisions. And so it's something that will be done speedily. And you can see that the president did not waste time. Under the previous administration of Muhammadu Buhari, he put somebody there, I think one Zachary or so,
yes,
in an acting capacity for about 4 months before he now appointed somebody, to succeed in that, Mahmoud.
Yes.
And so we would expect that the Senate would quickly, in fact, don't forget again that this Senate is notorious for not being rigorous when it comes to confirmation. They do a lot of things without the rigor when it comes to confirmation, and that's where this famous word that we are all used to, bow down and go, because they don't take time to do a diligent work.
So what are you expecting? Yes, I was going to say that. So what are you now expecting, from the Senate when it comes to this screening process of the INEC Chairman?
The man has a Senate, really, and he's not a man that has been involved in any form of controversy that we know. Nobody knows him, but every Nigerian is going to know him. And so with that kind of person, you would expect that he's going to have a smooth sail. Because of course, he's a professor, pro-chancellor from also when you are reading about his CV and the rest. So these are stellar qualities and qualifications. I think I would endear him to the Senate when it comes to confirmation, they are just going to be, like I said, they are not known for being rigorous when it comes to interviewing people that come before them. But especially for somebody, like this, who seems, from all indications, eminently qualified. So we do not expect any form of opposition from the senator. We would expect a resounding, approval for the INEC. I would be surprised if there's any dissension at all. So I expect that it's going to be a smooth sail, and that the Senate will put into make sure that they do everything that is needed to be done as quickly as possible, so that he can be confirmed and he can now begin the process of settling into the job and understanding the dynamics, of election relationship in this country.
Okay. All right. Let me take it back to Mr. Miliki on this. What qualities or experiences do you think he can bring to this role as INEC chairman? I mean, you were talking about you were talking about he being a digital professor, right? And it comes to, remember the 2023 elections, the controversy where, people have said, election transmission of results, should be electronic. And, there's that issue up until today with people about that 2023 elections and that controversy. And they felt, you said, but, they came out to say this is not what he said. So what do you think he can bring to this role based on, his qualities, his experiences?
Before going to the role, specifically like the other man said, I think today is Thursday, and then by Tuesday, Senate or National Assembly have just resumed. So we expect by next week, the nomination should be forwarded to the National Assembly for confirmation. And when that is done, then we now know the court will have been removed. But what is expected of somebody who is coming in is to first of all look at what is on ground. What have been the challenges, and what innovation do you think you put in place? One thing is the fact that, and I think it will be also an advantage to him, being a professor of law. The point is the fact that some of the problems that we Nigerians have is not to take interest in what the law is. It is not what the law should be. It is what the law is when it is amended. So electoral law, INEC has always been saying it. We are law-abiding citizens, and whatever the law says is what we follow. So what he needs, he can bring on board is to say A and B, C has been the complaint of Nigerians. We have seen several reports of committees set up. We have seen reports from the observers globally that I have also observed elections in 1999, and I'm sure the other person knows me and I know him. So we have made recommendations to say this is how we think it will go or it should go. And if we do that, we'll be better off. So coming on board at this critical time, we have an umbrella election. So there is no time to waste. We also have a Osun and Ekiti election next year. So these are some of the fundamental challenges. We also have a FCT election that is also coming up. So a new INEC need to sit down quickly. That's why Senate cannot afford to waste 1 second. The president cannot afford to waste 1 minute to be able to confirm him and then inaugurate him and let him go back and start work. But Nigeria must first of all come out with their own agenda. And I think partition issues should be raised, but rather the nation development, the electoral reform that we have been agitating for is what we should bring on top to prove the fact that he's coming in on merit, and whatever he's going to do must also be done on merit. So at the end of the day, the last INEC chairman is somebody we know very well, and then he was there for 10 years. I was able to look at Jegadi and all professors. So, but being a professor in the classroom can also be different from being a professor on the street. But that could be a very good advantage. One is qualified according to the provisions of the law, and I don't know him to be partisan, not a member of any political parties. So what you need to do is to sit down to look at what has been done since 1999 and what are the innovations, what have been the improvement, what are the challenges, and what area he thinks. You see, even himself need to be schooled because he's coming in for the first time in this particular area. So he has to also sit down and learn quickly, but Nigeria must also be patient with such a person. But for the fact that he's going to work with those who are there, it's not alone, it's not an island. All staff are there, other appointed national commissioners are there, state resident electoral commissioners are there, and the civil public servants are there. So we all sit down together on a round table and say, this is where we are. Whatever recommendations and then his own ideas will also come into being. Look at the innovation that Jega brought into place. Also, Professor Mahmoud also brought his own. So when you are talking of whether electronic what have you, the first is to ask ourselves, individually and collectively, what is the position of the law? Because that has been the problem. People didn't forget that election is a process. It is not election day. We have pre-election, we have election day, and post-election. That are supposed to be the role of political parties, the role of the citizens, and the role of the judiciary. All these cumulative together can make our election process a better one. So he should come in with his own idea, with his own innovation, but by and large, it must come with some level of digital. Because we are in a digital, I call him digital professor because I know him very well.
Okay. Why do you call him digital professor?
No, that is at personal level because I know his capability. And Eddie is not an analog person. So for that reason, he should be able to bring our own innovative. We have had people from different backgrounds. But Professor Gaga is a political science. This the man that just left was is an engineer. Yeah. But this one is coming in, and I think it's about the first time we have a professor of law that is coming in as INEC Chairman. So we have seen them from different backgrounds. So I think it's about coming up with your own idea, innovation, and consult widely and make it everything inclusive. Parallel from messenger, from gate man to the next person to you, who have been there before you, who can give you opinion. So his door should be open. And for us in civil society, we will continue to engage him. We will continue to make our opinion known to INEC because we are stakeholder in election process in Nigeria today. And so we will not put our arms. We will work with him. We will advise him under our leadership, like person like Clement Iwaku and other election guru in Nigeria and the legal luminary here. So definitely he has to bring in something new, something innovation, and something that can make us to have confidence in INEC.
Okay. All right. Let me take you back to Mr. Chude now. So what do you think are the key priorities, for him as, when he takes over? What should be on top of the agenda? We know that the Electoral Acts amendment bill, that's still in the National Assembly, and there are many things there. But one that Nigerians are really asking for is the electronic and transmission of results. That should be mandatory, which caused an issue in 2023. So what do you think, what's next for him?
Well, he's a Nigerian. And even before he even thought that he was ever going to perhaps get to this position, I'm sure he must have been reading, what is being said in the public space about the elections and the nature of elections in this country. I'm sure he would also have an idea about what Nigerians have been clamoring for with regards to electronic voting and all that. He would have an idea that these are the dominant issues with regards to elections in the country. But also these are just the procedures, that will be adopted, and the elements that will make up the election itself. But beyond that, I think the most important thing for him really is restoring voter confidence. Because voter confidence in elections in this country is an all-time low. There is no doubt about that. We got to the zenith of expectations and belief in the electoral system before the 2023 election. So the 2023 election dashed the hopes of a lot of people, especially the one. And so there was so much anger, disillusionment, and frustration with how that election, went. It's part of the mobilization that we in the civil society and those in the media, you people, also did to mobilize Nigerians and to make them believe in the process. I remember that we had a magic word that time, or magic expression with regards to that election in 2023. And that was the fact that it gave us the game changer. And people believed it, and they went out to also participate in that process, only to be burnt badly. The experience was extremely bad. So, a new chairman of INEC carries with him, a hope for renewal, a hope for restoration of the belief in the electoral system. And so that is the first thing. People will wait for him, they're watching, and there will be belief, really, that perhaps under him we can chart a new course when it comes to election. But like I said, Nigerians have nothing to prove anymore when it comes to electoral issues. We proved it in the 2023 election. And that was why after the 2023 election, subsequent elections, because of the fact that, a lot of Nigerians were disappointed, the onus now shifted from the people, INEC, to the chairman of INEC and his INEC, to now restore, confidence in that system. But with what we saw subsequently in the election in Kogi State, the election that took place in Imo State, and Miliki is over there with you. I know participated in this election. Some of us were also in the field, and so that is the biggest test. The fact that Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians, no longer seem to believe in the process. The fact that in virtually every election, whether it is election, especially for governorship, gubernatorial, election, you see that there is, constant reduction in the number of people that come out to participate in that process. It's a challenge that this INEC chairman, has to take head on and look a way to convince Nigerians that this is a new chapter that has been opened up for the country, and that but again, it's not about words, it's about what he does. And so Nigerians are watching to see what he's going to do,
Mr. Chide,
especially with regard to the first election that will be coming up in Anambra State. But then he will not be judged on that because Anambra State is just a few weeks away.
Yeah. Well, there's Ekiti, there's Oshun in 2026, he's settling in, right now. And that's why I said, okay, the timeline. But what does he need to do? Because you said the onus is on him. There has been complaints. You talked about the 2023 elections. There has been that complaints, up until now, some persons talk about beavers. And not just that, even when it comes to early campaigning, people have been talking about that with the Electoral Act not even having penalties, for that. The only penalty we can see is 24 hours before the day. But, the 150 days before, there's no penalty for that. I don't even think I've seen that in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. So he being a lawyer, right, a professor of law, do you think this would also help in maybe restoring confidence in, the laws and also enforcing, these laws as well? And so how do you think the onus is on him? Like, what does he need to do, basically, to give those people, the Nigerians, the trust that they need?
I think the Miliki has laid the foundation for him. And a lot of literature has been produced, especially from very, very credible, civil society organizations, election observation groups. We have that of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. We have that of Yaga Africa. We have that of so many other civil society organizations in Nigeria. We have that of the European Union, the African Union, the ECOWAS, the Community of the West African, a group, their observation body. So all of these people have written and made recommendations to INEC. And I know that some of them have been in touch with INEC even before this appointment. And we are assured by the INEC chairman, the penultimate INEC chairman, or the last INEC chairman, Yakub Mahmoud, that a lot of these recommendations that were made, because recommendations were made to the electoral body for certain key changes to be made, and recommendations were made to the federal government with regards to security and the attitude and actions of the government to be before the election. And there also recommendations were made to journalists with Nigeria, because I know at the level of the NUJ there are recommendations to the NUJ and some other bodies. And so he's expected to sit down, and I couldn't put it better than Miliki did, and go through all of these recommendations, all of these reports. And once he does that, he will be much the wiser for it. But that will now set a roadmap, help him set a roadmap for himself.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Miliki. We'll get your closing thoughts. What do you think are the challenges that lies ahead for Mr. Joash, Professor Joash, if eventually is confirmed by the Senate?
As civil society, it's a cumulative one. It's about the stakeholders. INEC itself has its own issues. However, how does the citizens' attitude to elections? What about the one for political parties themselves? Because they are the primary beneficiary, and they are number one stakeholder when it comes to issue of elections. So we need to change some of our attitudes. But by and large, I think we need to also encourage the National Assembly to do as quickly as possible by amending the necessary constitutional provisions that have to do with election or the constitution itself. Again, the Electoral Act also need to be completed as quickly as well, because he cannot work without the law. so that they will not have a base to say, oh, we are waiting for National Assembly, we are waiting for the executive. For the executive must also make necessary logistic issue. Sometimes we have resources delay. We have issue of logistics being delayed by the executive. And I think sometimes it's deliberate. So if we have all these ones in place, and then the citizen must open their ears, and that's why the media must also be there without sentiment, without being partisan. And so it's about Nigeria. It's not about the INEC chairman or INEC alone. It's about how do we get our democracy that we fought for, that many people of our colleagues, our comrades die. And today we are enjoying civil rule. We are enjoying democracy because every 4 years we have the opportunity to have a say one way or the other. It may not get to where we want to get to, but it's not where we are in 1999 that we are today. So congratulations to him. Let him come with his idea. We will look at it, but we are also going to make recommendations and engage him. And where they are necessary, we will see that flag.
And so, for Nigerians, some of them, it's the trust in the system because, some of them feel that mistrust in the system, and that's why you don't really see that attitude, for some persons. And
it's also about the fact that we complain too much. But what is our own contribution as individual, collectively? People just think that if you are there, ask yourself, will you do better? In your office, are you doing better than you are complaining with others? Did you follow the rules? Did you go to the bank and queue? Did you park well? Did you follow traffic lights? Those are the things that are not in the law. So
people were disappointed with that
electronic
transmission because it was one of the things on the front burner, and Nigerians were really urging for that electoral acts bill at the time.
Yeah, we want electronic transfer.
Yeah. So
wait, madam, we want electronic transfer. But for those of us who have been working on election and who are always in at a place, no matter what you say, all over the world, as of today, with our law, we still have election in manual places. It is what to enter into the form EC8 that you are going to now transmit. So at that level, politicians can take it there. So sometimes we take it from the surface. We don't look at it from the basis. It's not even about the law. It's about the attitude. What takes place at the polling units. Okay. Calm people down. So that is where we need to start from as citizens. So it's not about not believing in the system. It's about making it to work. And we must work with it.
All right. In 30 seconds, because I covered that election and I saw how some persons waited till the end. Some persons even talked about the discrepancies, and that's where the issues now began. And, they were saying at least if it was electronically transmitted, people would have seen. But INEC came out to say it was, bless you, that it wasn't even in the law that it had to be mandatory, and that's why they are calling for mandatory. So in 30 seconds, as we wrap up, one thing that Nigerians have continued to talk about is the appointment of the INEC chairman, the fact that the president is the one that appoints that person, and you probably be tilted, bless you, to do the bid of the president. And 2027 is coming. How do you expect?
Please, bless you. No, don't let us use the wrong language. President does not appoint. President make nomination, and that's what he has done.
Yeah.
To the institution that now are approved.
Yes.
And when you now make approval, it's a 3 stages. It will go to the National Assembly. Fine. Until the law is changed, it remains. What we can advocate for is for an amendment to the law based on our experience and what we want. As of today, the president makes nomination and make all recommendations. It is the state council and then the National Assembly that give approval. And that is the thing. So whatever we want, let us go and change the provisions of the law and the Electoral Act so that we can get to where we want to get to. But it is today, we must follow what the law says, and that is what is happening today.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Miliki. Mr. Miliki is the Executive Director of the Conscience for Human Rights and Conflicts Resolution, CHRCR Lokoja Kogi, is the Executive Director. Thank you so much, Mr. Idris Miliki. We do appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chike Chudi, Public Affairs Analyst, and has been observing the election for God knows how many years. I cannot count. But thank you so much, Mr. Chike Chudi.
It's been a pleasure, Zainab. Thank you very much.
Okay. And that's been the conversation this evening on The Big Story. We'll take some messages and you can join me on the roundtable.
Since 1894, we've witnessed the evolution of a nation and proudly partner with its people on their path to prosperity. From the ink-stained ledgers to fast transactions